What's going on, guys? My name is Zach7365, and you can just call me Zach, and I'm coming at you guys with an updated Speedroid deck profile. So, as most of you know, this is pretty much the deck of the channel. This is my favorite deck. This is pretty much what I've played consistently for the past year. And after the most recent ban list with Auroradon not being in the game anymore, I kind of felt a little disheartened because I really loved the lines that you could do with Auroradon. And just that not having access to that, we had to kind of revert. I took a little inspiration from people in the Discord that I'm in, and they were absolutely helpful, like using their list that they went like 6-2 with at a regional, like against actual meta. Like, it was really nice to see that, see the deck doing well, and it kind of gave me hope to actually try this deck again. So we're going to go into it. We'll go over matches after the deck profile, but I do want to give some big shout outs to my friend Michael, who actually gave me this. He was jokingly wanting my Contact C's that I've been pulling non-stop from OTS packs, and he gave me a copy of Toka from like a Chinese or a Japanese game. I saw it and I absolutely had to have it. I just had to get back to him eventually, and he said he could possibly find me more of these from this anime, so that's perfect. As most of you know, Tokyo Ghoul is my favorite anime, so even though the manga is the better, I will go ahead and say that before someone else does. And I also just wanted to put a wind attribute deck inside of the new Imperium wind attribute box. I mean, it came in the mail. I feel like the stars aligned on that one, so that's what we did. But anyways, let's go ahead and hop into the deck profile. We'll get through it as quick as possible and try not to make this video long as can be. Alrighty guys, and getting started, we of course play the 1 copy of Terratop, 3 copies of Marble Machine, 3 copies of Ultra Helm, 3 copies of Takatomborg, 3 copies of Car Turbo, 1 copy of Plane, 2 copies of Duke, 1 copy of Dice, 1 Piper, and 1 Yo-Yo. Overall, I felt really comfortable with this lineup of monsters. I haven't played Yo-Yo in a hot minute, but that was mostly because Rubber Band Shooter. I wasn't always looking for top off a Rubber Band Shooter. Either top or the Ultra Hound pretty much got me where I wanted with the Auroradon. So it was actually kind of nice having this card back in the deck. Everything else is pretty standard. I like 1 Dice still. I think you only need the 1. Double Duke for the resource for the grind game. And then everything else is just maxing out on every name possible that is actually good for the deck. So getting into the Speedroid spells that we played 3 copies of Speedroid Wheel, just a great starter. Also an extender, and it can also discard dead cards in your hand like Daiko Duke, or copies of the Trap, which we played 2 copies of the Trap. 2 is pretty standard. You want to keep 1 in deck for the Ultra Hound, and if you know you're going second, you can always take one of these out, so it's a flex spot for your side deck. And then I only opted for 2 copies of Speed Recovery. I saw someone else doing this as well, so I felt like this was nice. Usually games 2 and 3, this is coming out. If I know I'm going second, this is coming out. So right there, that's already 3 cards for the side. 2 felt alright. I do like the graveyard effect, but it can be kind of bricky at seeing multiples of this in hand. So that's the thought process with that. Going on to generic extenders, we have 2 copies of Griffin Rider, just a free level 7 we can plop on the board. And then the 1 Pilica, and to go with the Pilica, we of course have 3 copies of E-Telly. We are not playing the Nian in this variant. I felt like I didn't need it. Also, E-Telly can bring out a copy of Ghost Ogre as well that we have in the main still. So yeah, this can also become an interruption if we just want to save it. You can also force out 2 interruptions from your opponent flipping the anti-spell on your draw phase. So you just E-Telly, Therian negate, okay, E-Telly. In the same chain, Griffin negate. Okay, perfect. We just got rid of 2 interruptions for pretty much free. So I like this. I like E-Telly a lot. Pilica just being able to revive any wind tuner. You can make a level 6, a level 7. Some people can use it to make Totem Bird if you're on the XEs. I didn't much care for it. Or you can just make the Link Monster because the requirements are just 2 wins. So that's the thought process with that. I really enjoyed Pilica. And then to kind of fluff out the deck a little bit more, 2 copies of Small World. I kind of like the mindset of this. This is essentially your 2nd and 3rd copy of Terratop. Terratop just being the crazy card that it is. So I kind of like playing this at 2. It makes sense. Again, this was what the other list was doing. I wanted to try it, and it felt right. Usually you can side out 1 of these or both of these, just depending on the matchup. And then you can also just tailor your hand traps if you need more room for the side deck as well. Getting into our hand traps, we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, just the most generic hand trap for the format. Pretty much hits everything you want it to hit. 2 copies of Ghost Spell, I felt comfortable with just 2. 1 copy of Ghost Ogre, 1 copy of Droll and Lockbird for small world lines, and also Droll's not bad this format as well. 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, just an easy pick for the game. On your turn, this can just force out interruptions, or it can just deal with problematic cards like Masquerade. And then 1 Call by the Grave, just to round it off. You gotta play this card until Konami eventually bans it. Moving on to the extra deck, we will start in descending order with 1 copy of Baron de Fleur. I know this is like $140 or something like that, which is crazy to me. Just an amazing like Omni Negate for the deck. Also it pops. You can bring back Terratop during the standby phase. It's just great. Great card. If you don't have access to it, there are other options. You could play just other synchros in general, but this is pretty much one of the best cards you can possibly play. And then this is the card that I kind of was testing. I was actually theory crafting and testing in the Discord with a couple homies from the shop. Mistworm. This is a wind, and it basically compulses 3 cards back to the hand. There were a couple instances, especially against like Eldritch, where this possibly came up. I tested it. It was alright. And just for fun, I didn't play the Shen this evening, so I played this instead, and this actually came up in my last game of the evening. We bounced back a Branded Sword, a Branded in Red, and a Set Tragedy because the opponent bricked on 2 Mercurier, Branded Sword, Branded in Red, and a Tragedy, and nothing to really play. So yeah, this is pretty good. Kind of liked it, not gonna lie. Obviously, Shen would still be the better option just because you can recycle like the Wind Pegasus, for example, or your Dukes, just by whenever you declare an attack with one of your monsters. But this was just for fun, and it paid off. So, interesting tech. Then we have 2 copies of Crystal Wing. I still like 2 copies of Crystal because it can come up. You can either end on 2 of him or 1 of him and the Baron. It just depends. So I do like having 2, and also just having the second one in reserves. Can be a game changer and can get you back into the game. 1 copy of Kite Drake, just a board wipe or a board negate. Forces interaction, and if the opponent stops this or destroys it in any way, we just basically search the deck for anything that we want. Like there's an instance where this got dropletted, and then I used Card Turbo to boost it up to 23, attacked into his Appaloosa that was at 24, and then I got the search because it was integrated by an opponent's card. So yeah, that was absolutely crazy. I grabbed the Terratop for the follow-up on the next turn, and we just won from there. Moving on to our level 7s, we played 1 Clearwing Fast Dragon. I felt like I needed a second level 7 to send off the Rubber Band Shooter to guarantee the Terratop access. Clearwing probably being the better between this and regular Clearwing. Yeah, I never really made him. Like, he was always just fodder, but it was a nice little slot in instead of the Auroradon. Still testing that out. Might try out a 3rd level 6, like the Rap type, for example. That could be an option. But overall, he felt good. In theory, if he ever comes up, he is a pretty good card as well. And then the other card was the Wind Pegasus at Ignister. Basically an MST whenever he is on the field, and then an engrave or on field if one of our other cards is destroyed by battle or card effect, we can banish him, and then we can bounce another card that the opponent controls back to the hand. So pretty good interruption there. There's a line which is Terratop that you can put this into grave on the way to making Baron, which is really neat. So Terratop basically gives you 2 forms of interruption without committing the normal summon. Then onto our 6s, we played the Yugioh. This is usually your level 6 target that you are banishing for cost with Rubber Band Shooter. It can also just be a wall you can sit on if you need to. And then we have 1 Charge Warrior for climbing up into Baron as well, also drawing a card, and he can also just attack all special summon monsters. And when he's boosted by Card Turbo, that's a 2800 attacker that can just bop into everything. So that's pretty good, especially whenever you've already dealt with like the IP Masquerena and they break their ABC Buster. You can just attack into everything, and then you just clear out the board and then swing in for game with Chambara and like a boosted Rubber Band Shooter, which is just crazy to me. Going on to our level 5s, of course, Chambara, just no TK machine, can add back any banished Speedroid whenever he's sent to grave, so you can use him to climb up into a level 8 or whatever. But he's mostly going to be used for the recycling of your banished monsters to add back top, because you can banish the top with the Card Turbo, then use him as material to go into a Crystal Wing, and then add back top for the follow-up. So yeah, just a nice utility for the deck. I like playing the 1, and of course Hagoida, the main ping pong paddle man that he is. I love this card. Once per turn, just summon this from grave. It's just crazy. But yeah, moving on to our level 3s, we got 2 copies of Cork Shooter. I still think you need to play 2 of these because this card is just crazy. Yeah, it just soul charges back the materials that were used to make him. Super good. Easily can just get you into everything else you need. Can easily put extra tuners on board. Great card. Absolutely love it. And then we have 2 copies of Rubber Band Shooter. 2 is the preferred number for me. I feel like 2 comes up a lot, especially whenever you go Rubber Band Shooter, they banish it with ABC. Okay, we just make a second one, and we still get our effects. But we are committing more resources. So there is that, but it does give you access still into that line of play. That's pretty much for the extra deck. We'll move on to the side deck now. We play 3 copies of Twin Twister and 2 copies of Lightning Storm. These are just your spell variant of monster and spell and trap removal. Lightning Storm came up a few times today, won me a couple games. Also, Twin Twister was alright. I saw it, but I didn't need it. But yeah, just being able to have that quick play removal and also the pitch fodder for Twin Twisters. Pitch a duplicate, pitch a Duke can be really good. So yeah, I felt comfortable with these. On to the scummy card of the deck list, Mystic Mine. This card is insane. So how this one works in this deck, we can either activate it to force out an interruption, or if it sticks, we just have to have another copy that we can set over top of it. Or ideally, we can go into our Kite Drake line to blow up everything in the field. That way they can't respond to it. And that way we get the clear, and then we can commit the normal summon if we haven't committed already. Like this plus Terratop, as long as they have 4 monsters on field, they will not be able to respond to anything. So that's pretty cool. I did like this. This was pretty scummy, actually. I kind of feel dirty playing this, but it's very effective, and I do not know why this card is still in the game, to be honest. Moving on to the trap cards, more things that I don't know why these still exist. 3 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance. This just basically makes it so your opponent has to wait 2 turns to be able to activate any of their spell cards. Just absolutely unfair. Great for the branded matchup, great for the Therian ABC matchup because their adventure stuff requires a spell to get started. Their ABCs usually require the spell to be on field. The Therians need the field spell if they didn't hard open the Regulus. I mean, it's just crazy. This card is really good. Hopefully we'll see some type of hit to this, but right now it just feels really good as a good counter for everything else. Because with this deck, you're going to kill them next turn if they can't set up. So that's the thought process with that. Then moving on to 3 copies of D-Barrier, just a staple for this format. We are in the branded fusion format, just an easy accessible engine that everyone's pretty much playing in every deck. So we can use this to call fusions, we can call XCs for some reason, or we can call synchros against Sword Soul if we need to. So these cards are absolutely huge. D-Barrier just wins you games sometimes. Anti-Spell wins you games. If you see these, you're winning. Usually you're going to be Charge Warrior and trying to dig for this, or even the Piper if you can get access to that and dig for one of these. If you see any of these, you pretty much just instantly win in most cases. And then 1 copy of Red Reboot just because we need a way to just counter trap decks. Red Reboot is just massive. And we do not care about the life points because we are going to OTK them. And that's pretty much it for the deck, guys. We'll go ahead and switch back over to the face cam, and we will talk over the matches real quick, and then we'll just end the video. Alrighty, guys, and getting into a little just quick recap. Round 1, we did play against a Sword Soul player. We ended up 2-0ing him pretty easily. Lightning Storm being able to put in work, and also Mystic Mine, of all things. We didn't really have anything in hand. We had a Mystic Mine. It stuck. He didn't have a negate to stop it. And we sat for a couple turns. We drew into what we needed, and then we were able to just set another copy of mine, and then just play there and win the game. Round 2 was against a branded Espia player. We did use the mine for him as well in the second game. We were able to snag the win there. And then we were able to, game 3, flip the dimensional barrier, and that was just it. He summoned the Luber, added the branded loss, activated the branded loss, and then on activation, we just activated the D-Barrier. We put him on, you better have the branded in red, or a quick play spell of some kind, or this is pretty much over. He just had a couple cards, passed it back over to us, and then we just OTK'd him, because that's what this deck does so well. On to round 3, we played against a ABC Therian deck. We lost the die roll, and then we still won game 1 somehow. Game 2, we just got anti-spelled, and we just kind of, yeah, didn't have enough gas. We opened up 2 copies of E-Telly and then like some starters. We were able to force out the Therian negate and also the Griffin. So that was pretty good, and then we were able to bait out the ABC Buster, and then we still ended it on a Baron, but that wasn't enough against a 4-material Appaloosa, a live Draco back, and also the Therian Field spell to protect everything from being destroyed. So it is what it is, and then game 3 we just kind of dug for the anti-spell, and we were able to attack for game before time was called. And then on to round 4, it was another Branded Despia match. Game 1, we just had an answer for everything. Ashen Bell just ended his turn, plus the call by. We were able to establish dominance over the game. Yeah, all he had was a Masquerade and a copy of Aluber on field. We were able to in-perm the Masquerade and just go in from there. And also being able to grab the follow-up for the following turn. We just out-resourced him, really, and we just was able to take the game. Then on to game 2 of round 4, we just pretty much had it handed to us. He opened up 2 copies of McCourier, a copy of Branded Sword, a copy of Branded in Red, and a copy of Tragedy. So he set Tragedy, set the Branded in Red, and set the Branded Sword. Passed it over to us. We got into a combo line. Didn't hand trap us or anything, so we just kind of tooled around. We did something funny, and we made the Mistworm, and it kind of actually mattered, because if I would have went into Baron, popped the Tragedy, he would have got his Search, then Branded in Red would have been live. So Mistworm kind of actually came up, and it wasn't terrible. And we just were able to put over lethal on board pretty easily after that. But yeah, the deck actually performs really well. I enjoyed it. It was nice actually playing a deck that I was comfortable with. I've been enjoying Predaplants, but I'm just not fully comfortable with the deck and the lines within it. This deck I could probably just play with my eyes closed in most cases. I just love it so much. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And also if you like this type of content, also let me know down below. Leave me a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. But guys, until the next one, peace out.